Hey, folks. Just getting my lights set here. How you doing? Good to see you. We are live now. And kind of a rare thing for a weeknight. And sorry, my lights are not set up here and stuff like that. Nothing's really kind of set up right here. Totally redid my office yesterday, and I'm still getting used to how everything's set up right now. So it's good to see you. Welcome to the show, which is not really a show. I did not do a radio show tonight, but I thought I would come on. Thought I'd have some time at the end of the day here to get on at the normally scheduled time and just do a little live show. And it's not really a show. I don't have a lot. I don't have anything planned. Just hopping in here. And so here we are. And let's see. Want to make sure all my settings are right now. You're going to see I'm not using the same program I do for my radio show. This is how we do It's Sunday for those of you here that come in on Sunday evening. And so the look is a little different. The feel's a little different. There's a rerun playing over on Odyssey Radio, and that's over at odysy1.com. You can go to Odyssey Radio, and Russ is playing a rerun for me tonight. And so here we are. And I just had a little girl sleeping on my lap, so who's not feeling well. So I just jumped up from that when I realized we're right at 9 o'clock. And so here I am. And I just want to say hello to everyone. And let's see. Let's just see who all's here. Say, hey, Field Guy, I saw that you were here like hours ago. And so good to see you, brother. I don't know if you're still here. Matt Finn, good to see you. Let's see. Electra, good to see you tonight. And Roger Rabbit, good to see you as well. And Susie Q. And let's see. Just going to scroll down a little bit just to say some hellos. You know, we can do this on Sunday morning. We can't do it every night of the week. So, streaming time, says Field Guy. Rockin' Rhonda, good to see ya. And let's see. My brain is fairly off tonight, so you'll have to bear with me. And I don't have a real topic tonight. I just wanted to get on because I felt I owed you guys some live time since I kind of canceled the show for tonight, and we're playing a rerun over on the radio station. So I thought I'd come on in over here. I think I'm hitting most everybody here that's here already. Teresa, good to see you. And Twisted, good to see you as well. Michelle Canham Free, good to see you. Thanks for being here. And there you go. And Julie is here as well. Julie, how you doing? What is it? Let's see over where you are. It's got to be what? About almost noon tomorrow. So good to see you. Glad you're here. Audrey, nice to see you. My phasers are not on the wall. My phaser just happens to be right here. So it's not on the wall. I was totally redoing things with the office yesterday. I pulled a new desk in here because I was using my drafting table, which is where my computer sat, and a big drafting table, old wooden one, but I just didn't have enough space in here. So I pulled it out and I brought on this big desk, but it's a lot lower. I was up high in my drafting table, sitting on like a bar stool height. And so I set this in here, and I'm down at regular height of a regular desk, and all that stuff on my wall was way up there. So I had to move everything down because it's kind of my backdrop. So I had to move everything so it fit into the camera space. And but now I got this big 7-foot long desk in here, which is nice, which gives me room to spread out. So 4:15 p.m. on Tuesday. Julie, boy, You must be on a different side of Australia or something. Some of my other, or wait, Julie, you're in New Zealand, right? Australia, I have friends there, and it's usually about a 14-hour difference. So it's 9:15 p.m. Monday here. So for all of those of you who are here, and there you go. You're welcome, Michelle. Glad to have you. Hey, Iowa Joe, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. This is for those of you still coming in. This is not my radio show. Because I canceled the radio show for tonight and didn't pre-record anything. And so I thought I better come in at 9 o'clock live tonight just for you guys and to let you know that I'm not doing live radio this evening. And so it's not really a show tonight. As I've said, you thought maybe Rocky broke in and borrowed the phaser. Yeah. Audrey, you know the likelihood of that. So Rocky and I were live this morning about 10 hours ago. And same conversation took place there. If you saw Rocky's show regarding the phaser and all the other things that were supposed to be on the wall but are not. And of course, my communicator, that was up there on the wall as well. So, that was up there. So. And I just haven't had a chance to remount everything, and that would have gone right there. So I got things rearranged in here, and as you can see, I've got no real topic tonight. I'm probably a little spindly in the brain at the moment, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. And been a long day, and lots of stuff going on here today. I had to remount my microphone here, and so I've got that a little different too. So anyway, what do you want to talk about? Because I got nothing. And this could have been formal. I could have had something planned to say, and I didn't. And so I just thought I'd come in and be informal tonight. And let's see. My streams have a what's that? My streams have something that just bounced around here. My streams, Field Guy said, my streams, I never have a topic. I either filibuster or rant. Yeah, there you go. So I didn't know you had a stream going on, Field Guy. I don't think I've ever seen your stream. Let everybody know where they can find it. And so, you can see that this is not going to be a program for the ages and one to put down for posterity, because I'm mostly mentally out of it today. And as I mentioned at the beginning, a sick little girl was sleeping on my lap out there, and I was dozing myself. And I said, it's time. I got to go up and get in there. So Mom had run to the store, Rainey, so I had to slip that. You ever do that? You ever wake up and you've got a little kid sleeping on your lap, and you have to kind of move, so you just kind of slide them over, so you don't want to wake them up and get up too abruptly. So anyway, that's what I had to do. And let's see. Oh, you do your lives around midnight, Field Guy? That's cool. So Corinne Browning, we need to get excited again. Yes, we do. What is it that you want to get excited about tonight, Corinne? We can talk about that a little bit. Coffee, boy, do I need coffee right now to wake my brain up. So let's see. Every night, Captain, says Michelle. I missed something there. I'm missing something in the translation for some of these. Been there, done that? Yeah, yep. Oh, Michelle, you talking about kids? Yeah, waking up with kids. Same thing with Twisted. Been there, done that. Let's see. You wait till JV is over, says Field Guy. Yeah. So, Electra, nice to see you. We can send positive energy to the collective. Yeah, that would work. Got the Voyage Home on in the background. It's funny as hell. Rockin' Rod, are you talking about Star Trek, The Voyage Home? I remember when that came out. Let's see. Julie says, I miss rocking you at the Situation Room. Think it's on at 4 a.m. New Zealand time. Oh, when we go live? Yeah. It's still on at its regular time in the evening at 11 p.m. here, which I think would be 6 p.m. out there in New Zealand tomorrow. But it's not live. We do the live show at 11 a.m. and then rebroadcasts at 11 p.m. So your friend Kathleen is back. Oh, is your friend Kathleen is... Oh, gotcha. Never mind. I didn't see a cap. It says Corinne. My friend Catherine is captain. Gotcha. Okay. I got you now. I'm slow tonight, that's all. And let's see. Current projects Audrey asked me about. I'm still in the thick of the graphic novels. I'm working on all of that right now. As a matter of fact, I've got a bunch of them right here. You know, this is the stuff I'm doing for work, and it's just a black and white graphic novel, and it's a 3-parter for a science fiction author. It's these kinds of things, and let's see what else we got. Got anything new in this stack to show you? See, it doesn't have any of the words on the pages yet, but I'm working on this stuff. This is one I did a while back, but there you go. So that's how that's looking. So I'm still in the thick of this project, and a lot of that going on, and I hope to be done very soon with this. So there, that gives you an idea. That's a current project that I'm working on. Let's see if anything here is some of the later ones I've done. Some of these pages and things like this. And I've got a small child standing here because nobody doesn't interrupt me during a radio show. So what can I do for you, Ro?
I want a hug.
Oh, you want a hug even though I'm on radio?
Yeah.
How can you waste my time like that?
Because you're my dad.
Okay. I love you. Good night.
Just so you know, Flynn sprained my finger.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later. Good night. So, there you go. I mean, there's a more gruesome one. There you go. I just show that because it's gruesome. And boom, finds his buddy dead. Things like that. So, anyway, there you go. That's what I'm working on. That's a current project amongst many other projects that I'm in the middle of. And that one is dragging on a lot longer than I thought it would, but it's a good project to have in here. And it's a 3-parter, so that'll take me a while yet to get completed. And hopefully not too much longer on the first one. Let's see, what else do I have going? I still have my book that I'm working on, but it's all, I've had to take that. This is what happens to me when I start writing any kind of book, usually, it's backburnered for a while. Not any book. Let me amend that. I've had books where I've written them where my publisher has called me or talked to me, wants me to write a particular book, and I've done it, like the ones that I've read live on the show. But I'm in the middle of one now that I've had to take and kind of set it aside because I got this big project to finish. And so hopefully when I finish this up, I'll be able to jump back into that book and get it done. That's the 10 Breaths of Ra book. And I think I told you all about that. The one it's fiction set in 1920s Egypt, supernatural, paranormal, Egyptian gods, Egyptian jinn are in it, as a matter of fact, and so I had planned to illustrate that one, not fully illustrated, like 10 illustrations in the book, because it's a young adult novel. But I don't know if I'm going to illustrate it or not yet. I'm still thinking about that. I don't want the illustrations to lead people astray, that it's for too young a reader, but because I'm writing it for teens and up. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a serious book. So those are those two current projects. Thank you for asking, Audrey. And does the writer give me a script with these and I illustrate around it? Yeah, this is an existing novel, and I don't think I have it sitting here on my shelf. No, I don't. I've got it in digital format as well. Yeah, this is quite a lengthy novel. The novel's about that thick, and so he divided into 3 parts. And so what he's basically done is given me that's something I kind of took on when I took on this task with him, is taking the novel, and he didn't really script it out, but I'm taking it and breaking it down as I go along into pages. So I'll read a page or a chapter, and I'll figure out how I want this how I visualize it in my head. In a sense, it's almost like storyboarding a movie. And so he didn't have a script. He just has the narrative of the novel that's already been published. And so I'm working on that one. And the novel is called Children of the Fifth. Oh, how can I skip that in my mind? Children of the Fifth Son. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you can go to that childrenofthefifthson.com is what I think it is, unless it's the initials. And let me just see. Children of the Fifth Son.com. See if that's how it comes up. And I think that's it. Yeah. And it's by Gareth Worthington. And there's some of his other books. He's got Children of the Fifth Son and a couple of different books in that series, by book 2 now. And book 3 is coming here in 2020. And so that gives you, you can take a look at that and you can get an idea what the story is. I don't know if he's put anything up yet about the comic book. Not yet on the graphic novel. But you can go see what his book is about. And hey, Rocky. I just saw Rocky's name being thrown about in there. Good to see you, brother. Let's see. Delaney is, how are we tonight? Doing all right. And let's see. What else? Yeah, we got Rocky is in there. That's good. Like I say, I'm just, right now, I'm thinking I could choose a topic, any topic in my head, and I could go off on it for about an hour. And I'm not sure I want to do that. I'm not sure how much I trust my not the veracity. What's the word I'm looking for? The abilities of my brain to carry through if I start that tonight. So Rocky, hells yeah, meatball. Let's see. Thoughts on the erosion of the Sphinx caused by water, dating it possibly much older than the pyramids. You want me to talk about that tonight, Matt? I probably could talk about that. I don't know what to think about that, actually, because I've been to the Sphinx. You look at the Sphinx, and it does look like some of the erosion is from the water. I know it's more Robert Schoch, and that was something the late John Anthony West, of course, is very well known for, talking about the Sphinx and the water damage on the Sphinx. Now, that's an interesting theory. Now, I'm not a geologist, but I know the Sphinx is much older than the pyramids. And there's an interesting thing that I noticed when I was at the temple there and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, why is that coming into my head about this? Because this floor in this ad, this is a photograph I took in the Sphinx temple. Now, I used the photograph for this advertisement for John Ward's in my book on the Exodus reality. But don't so much look at that as you see the floor there. It's an alabaster floor. I took this out of a photograph I was taking at the Sphinx Temple. And since we're talking about the Sphinx, it popped into my head and I saw this magazine sitting right there on the shelf. But that's the ad. And that floor, that temple, is a temple structure that's very different than the other structures around it. There are the way it's built, the way it's put together, the way the stones are pieced together is very different from other structures around there. And that's the Sphinx Temple itself. And so they think the Sphinx Temple dates back. Some people think date back older than the Sphinx itself. And so that's a very old temple. There are corners in that Sphinx Temple where it's literally the stone, instead of cutting it into a square corner, the corner is curved, and the stone itself has been curved out and at weird angles. And I've got pictures of that somewhere. I wish I'd have thought about prepping for that. But so when you talk about the age of the Sphinx, the weathering of the Sphinx, it's very possible it's much older than we think it is. And of course, we all know the head isn't the original head. So this is the old Intrepid magazine that I had sitting there. So Intrepid magazine, that's John Ward. So this is a mag I was publishing up till a few years ago. And thinking of relaunching this magazine one of these days, but not today. So if only I had enough hours to do all the things I want to do. So let's see. So, Julie, you set your alarm for 4 a.m. to catch the Rocky Stucci show, the Situation Room. That's fantastic. So, let's see. How do we break free from the gods? This illusion has to have an escape. Asks Richie. Hey, Richie, how you doing, by the way? How do we break free from the gods? That's a good question. I know that was the same question Atrahasis had. If you think back to the tale of Atrahasis on the cuneiform tablets from the Sumerian culture, his prayer to Enki was to help deliver the humans from the bondage to the Anunnaki gods. And this is when Enki came down. It says he bent his ear to his servant. And he came down and aided Atrahasis, the human king, gave him the forbidden knowledge of the gods, to break free from bondage to the gods. But for this, Enki was cast into the subterranean caverns of the earth to dwell forever by Enlil, the chief god, giving us the basis for the Genesis story as well. So that's a good question, though. How do you break free from the gods? Are there gods to break free from? If there are gods, should we be breaking free from the gods? Is there a God as we have understood him in Western Christian tradition, literalist Christianity? Is that God different than the God that actually exists? As we were talking about last week with the jinn, is there a creator or an originator God? Are there different kinds? What's deception and what's real? There are the big questions that are out there. And of course, what does God say of himself in the Bible? It says he's not the originator of sin, that he is not the originator of confusion, but of sobriety and a sound mind. So the problem you have with all of that is, how do you make that decision? People say, well, it's just by faith. You just have faith. Well, faith doesn't cut it when it comes to reality for me. That's me personally, Richie. So the big question is, are you liberated actually when you break free from the gods? Or will you wake up dead someday and find out you're burning in the lake of fire? You know, what is it that's the real answers and the real And I would think if that stuff was as real as it's supposed to be, we'd have been given more than faith to go on. So it's an interesting question, and it's a big question. And we can all have our personal anecdotal experiences when it comes to God. Who is God to us individually? How do we interact with God? Do we interact with God? Bible has one version of that. Other spiritualities have different versions of how we interact with God. Are we really interacting with a God? Those are the questions, because there's no real answers. There's no real proof for how anything works. It's all what it seems to be up here. So I think breaking free of the 3D matrix brings ascension. Maybe so, Julie. I don't know. We talk about these things, and really, when it comes down to it, I did a reading for someone today, and there are so many things where we say things that we should be doing, like letting go of the past, or changing something that's an internal function of how we seem to exist. If you have new energy that you're supposed to let go of the old and turn on the new energy. How do you really do that? We talk about that. And it's so easy to talk about, yet so difficult to actually do. So letting go of the 3D matrix, how do we do that? Most people will look at that and go, that's a weird question. I wish I had an answer for you for that. Because we live in the 3D. We are in the 3D. Is it, we have dubbed it a matrix. Is it really a matrix? We don't know. Are we just did we just happen by chance in a vast universe? Are we here? Is there not really anything that governs it? Are we really chance chemical reactions that happened millions of years ago and created a cellular structure that evolved into primordial man? That's a good question. Hey, Anton G, good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. According to Hinduism, he says, a form of Vishnu created the universe in his sleep and is still sleeping. He's currently exhaling. Science says that the universe is expanding. Yes. And the great beaver in the sky gave birth to the stars. And she sneezed and they scattered throughout the heavens. And those are the stars you see at night. See, this is the thing. We have all these origin stories, creation stories. Are they true? Which one is true? They can't all be true. There can all be versions of how people interpreted things were true, and so on and so forth. So, Eastern religion, don't know much about. Emerald tablets, that's just another myth to me. So there are all different kinds of stories out there for how to explain why we are, who we are, where we are, and so on. And since this is not a formal study, I don't really know what I'm talking about tonight. So, Amanda, I am well, and I am smiling. Hope you are too. And let's see, damn beavers. Ain't that the truth, Anton? Antone. I have a friend named Antone. And he spells it the same way, Anton. So sorry about that. I've always done that to you. So are we part of God or just a small piece of a greater existence? Richie, I don't know. Are we all little gods? Well, some say we are. And you can look at that and you can break that down and say it seems to be so. That seems to make sense. But because it makes sense to us, didn't Western Christianity at once make sense to a lot of us? Doesn't Judaism make sense to some? Doesn't Islam make sense to others, or Hinduism, or Shintoism, whatever? You can name a million different things. It all makes sense to the believer, or it all makes sense to the person who's trying to escape from a certain system of belief and look to something else. And I start to wonder, what is the real truth of things? We can bring up all this great stuff from, Christianity or Judaism or Eastern religions or whatever, New Ageism if you want, and none of us really knows. We hit on things that sometimes it makes us feel good about breaking away from something else, and so we've found new comfort in the new thing, and yet we don't really know that new thing is any better or any different. Well, we know it's different. Take that back. But we don't know if that's any truer than the other new thing or the other ancient thing. And that's what we're left with. A creation, are we created? Was there an originator? Something that created everything? Or was it all a chemical reaction on some, I don't even know how to describe that. You know what I mean? Big Bang, evolutionary theory, primordial slime, chemical reactions that made humans. Are we an accident? Did somebody intentionally make us? And if he, let's use he, because it's easy to use a pronoun. Other than every time you talk about a creator to say he, she, it, they, you know what I mean? Did a creator create us for no reason? Did a creator wind up the clock and toss it off? Okay, there you go. Poof, you're created. Have fun. I'm going fishing. Is there a creator that's intimately involved, one that wants to hear our prayers and craves our worship? A divine being that would crave our worship seems to me to be what's the word I'm looking for? Seems odd. I'm going to create you so you'll worship me. Okay? That sounds a little needy, a little that God created us because he had no one to worship him. What does God need with a starship? The old Star Trek film that came after the voyage home. So those are some big questions out there. And we think we can stumble on some answers sometimes. But are we really finding answers, or are we just finding more questions? Are we learning that, okay, folks, it's either one of two things. It's either God is who we were taught he was in Sunday school, or God isn't who he was we were taught in Sunday school. Isn't who we were taught he was. And I think that there's a lot of information out there about how Christianity started that we can start to back away from that. That saddens me, really. You know that? Not because I have a need for that system of belief, but it saddens me that if there was a Jesus of Nazareth who died, that story really has nothing greater than what we've attributed to it. It's such a wonderful, when you think about it, a wonderful story of love and God's love and humanity and sacrifice and so on. All of those things. Yet, if you boil it down, it might not be a true story. It was a real guy who got railroaded, ended up dying. Is there that dying Jesus? Is that a real thing that has real efficacy? Maybe not. And so I think that's a sad thing after a while when you think about that. It just becomes a story of a itinerant country rabbi who offended the hierarchy of his religion, and he ended up getting brutally executed for it. Was there anything deeper to it than that? And if there wasn't anything deeper to that, why does it still exist as a major religion 2,000 years later? Are we all a bunch of rubes and a bunch of stoops as human beings? Or was there something to that? These are the things that when you start to think about this and you say, is there a deeper meaning to what we say we believe? Is there a God in the way we were maybe raised in Western culture to believe that there was a God? And if so, why are all the other gods fake if that one's real? Or maybe they're all real. And if they're all real, did a Jesus need to die on the cross for the sins of humanity? No, probably not. So there is, when you leave something that was ingrained in you, that you were inculcated into, there is a grieving process and a sadness. And sometimes I feel sad for Jesus, that there was a Jesus that went through those things. The myth saddens me. And so, yeah, Sterling, you're absolutely right. Macabre. Humanity made God. Yeah, we made God. We needed a God. We needed somebody. We needed the great father in the sky, or the great boogeyman in the sky, or the great deity that would give us purpose for something. Yeah, we needed that. And that's why we made him or her. Humanity did make God. Maybe they're all fake. It says Twisted. And Twisted, maybe you're right. You might be right. But one thing I have found now, conversely, I have found that there seems to be magic. There seems to be power that is out there. And by power, I'm not using that word as and there is evil power to be had, and we must have it and crush others. No, that's not what I'm saying. There's power out there, good and ill, and depending on how you use it. What is that power? What is that magic that exists? What are the beings that people say that they come in contact with and they put their belief into? Those are good questions, but they're the big questions, they're the crazy questions. Whitebeard, Shiva, etc. Were man-made. Yeah, exactly, Anton. Hey, Amanda, good to have you back. If you lost us, lost yous, she says, for a minute. So that's how the Intrepids roll on a Monday, bro. Yeah, that's very true. My brain is very Monday right now, as a matter of fact. My brain is even, would it be more or less Monday than it was this morning at 11 o'clock when Rocky and I were doing radio live. So, yeah, my brain is less Monday, more Monday. It's more tapped. It's more, this whole time I've been talking, you could tell at the very beginning, a little detached because I'm very tired. And I wanted to come in here and I wanted to do something live, but my brain is still very detached. I can't seem to step forward to grasp my brain for tonight. It's hanging out there somewhere, and it's not all my synapses are firing tonight. But yeah, God made you do it, Twisted. Yeah, that's the excuse we have. And I look at that, even that triggers thinking about God made me do that, or the devil made me do that, or whatever. I remember when we were talking a bit about the Cathars and talking about the Gnostics and the Inquisition, and it's what makes somebody who believes in a deity that's supposed to be a deity of love, the love of Christ, the love of God, the love of whomever, and yet we would commit atrocities on other people because they don't believe what we believe. I've never quite understood that capacity in humanity to do that. What? Hey, where will you be 5 minutes after you die? God loves you. Jesus loves you so much. God loves you so much he sent his only son Jesus to die for you because he loves you. But don't get me wrong, God loves you. He's more holy than he is love, so he will send you to a burning lake of fire for all eternity if you don't love him back. That, to me, never seemed to define love. It seems like the anti-definition of love. And so what and where do we find the truth in that? And so it's been good. Let me just lean back here. I'm going to just tip my mic back and turn this around a little bit if I can. Let's get the mic up there. There we go. I don't think I've been this far from the computer screen ever when I'm doing a show. But so I have those problems with certain beliefs and certain faith systems, and it's not being able to justify in my mind the actions of a deity that everything about the faith seems to fly in the face of the faith. So I'm talking in circles now, so it doesn't really matter. But those are the things I think about. Those are the things that drive my thinking. And Macabre says, I will speed straight up and through the holes in the net, get the crap out of here, never to return 5 minutes after I die. Maybe. Who knows what happens? What are ghosts? Are ghosts really the ghosts of people? If you die, what happens to you after that? In a Judeo-Christian setting, well, there's not supposed to be ghosts, but there are ghosts. What is that? We know we experience some of these things. So there's the big question. What are you experiencing when you experience a ghost? We certainly weren't all created by chance, and there's nothing out there. Just by virtue of the fact that we know there are spirit beings that defines that. And of course, science will tell you, and some people tell there are no spirit beings. There's nothing out there. We don't know that. Roger says, the more you talk in circles, the more you pull me into what you're saying. I kind of just blank out and absorb that Scotty knowledge. Scotty knowledge could be very dangerous, Roger. Scotty don't know nothing. I know that Scotty, he don't know shit. So it's like I say, the more shit I know, the more I know I don't know shit. So but these are the things I question, and it's just little questions. Some of them maybe even were meant to be fun or funny or flippant or whatever. And Scotty, what do you think about the universe? Well, I don't know what I think about the universe, but let me tell you. So I am someone who can be moved to great depths emotionally, even now when it comes to my old faith issues. God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit and salvation and heaven and hell and all of those things. I could be moved very deeply by those things. So, Audrey asks, speaking of ghosts, has Rowan seen the lady in the red dress lately? Well, Rainey kind of thinks that she was kind of making her up. But there's a little bit of something about spirit boxing in my house, about doing that in here, because once you find out it's there, then you got to deal with it being there. And I'm not in denial about it, but I do tend to wonder what's going to happen when you I should listen back to some of these episodes. If anybody is stalwart enough and wants to take like this episode once it's over tonight, download it and listen to it and see if there's anything talking in the background, any EVP work, you're welcome to do that. That'd be interesting because Rocky and I and John Ward, we would get EVPs all the time in our broadcasts. See, Roger says the universe created potatoes, and those same potatoes now go into people's anal cavity. I don't think we'll ever find the answer. You're right, Roger. And some people don't even freeze them first. It's like I said to Rocky, I prefer mine mashed. JV swears he thinks something moves in his studio. He might be right. And he comes on in about 4 minutes, doesn't he? 5 minutes, something like that. We can ask him directly. JV, Jimmy, anything moving in your studio tonight? Let's see. Do I remember a while back when I did a show and something fell from the ceiling? Yeah, it was back in the corner here. And we saw that. Now, I had a good friend of mine who's a lighting specialist, a theatrical lighting specialist. And he said he's seen that kind of stuff before. He says it looked like it was a spider. And if you see how the shadows get cast here? It's because of this here. If I turn that blue light a little more, well, you see what that blue light does? It's like almost got a night light or a black light quality. And it wasn't a black light when I bought it, just said blue light bulb. And but you see what it does with some of the shadows in here sometimes. Look at the shadow right here of my hand as it flies across the flag and the Bigfoot thing. You see the kind of aura that's in the shadow. He thought that that's exactly what was happening with the spider coming down, because that's when I had the blue light over there and it was shining up into that corner. And I've only got the blue light for a theatrical effect. Here, look, if I turn that off, that's what we've got. And it's fine, and it's decent lighting. But to me, I wanted something a little more theatrical than that. It's like this. Boy, you can see how tired my face is today. Like I use this light in here sometimes. And I try to go a little more, a little more subtle. I wanted to have some colored gels in here and some things like that. But anyway, let's get it back to where it was. There. Oh, that's really bright. Whew. So I'm bright like that, I look as white as Rocky. So, anyway, I don't remember where I was or what the hell I was talking about. I have the basic idea, but I told the story of a motion-activated toy. Oh, yeah, that I had on the shelf and turned on by itself. It might have been a Star Trek item. It was a Lost in Space item. As a matter of fact, no, it's too buried over there. It's in pieces. I was trying to fix it. It was the old 1960s Lost in Space robot. That Danger Will Robinson. My sensors indicate an intruder is present. And he's about this tall, and he all lights up like the old TV show. And I had him he had a sensor in him. And the sensor, if somebody passed in front of it, would say, my sensors indicate an intruder is present. And so I put him on the landing. I lived back, I think it was even before my divorce was final. This is back 20 years ago when my kids were 9 years old, my oldest daughters, and my son Sam was like 1. And I had an upstairs duplex in an old house in St. Paul, and it had a beautiful old wooden staircase that went upstairs. Just a duplex. It was built as a duplex probably around 1900. And so you walk up that stairs, and there was a little landing, and then it turned and went up about 4 more steps into my apartment door. And so there was, on that little landing in the corner, was a little triangular shelf that was built into all the old woodwork there. And I put the little robot up there. So if somebody came up the stairs, like you couldn't hear him anyway, on an 100-year-old wooden staircase, creak, 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 somebody coming up the stairs. But that sensor would go off when they'd break the line of vision of that line of light to that sensor. And so one night I'm sitting up there in that apartment and I'm all alone. My kids are at their mom's, and it's all wooden floors. Everything creaks on the wooden floor. And I had you came to the top of the stairs, right to the door. And when you walked in, there was a door just to the left, and it was the master bedroom that faced the front of the house. So all the windows across the front upstairs, and all wooden floors. And it was a big master bedroom. And I had a little tiny desk in there that I set up my laptop on. And I had the big bed, a big California-sized king bed up against the windows, and the curtains and all that over there. And I had this little desk way off in the corner at an angle. It was only about 4 feet long, like 2 feet. And it was just there specifically to have the laptop. And I'm sitting late one night and I'm typing and I'm working away on something. And I hear this sound that, I don't know, kind of sounded like this kind of, I can't even imitate it. It's a ball. What it was I had gotten a rat for my daughters. It was their pet. It was actually a rat that was given to me. I had a torrid weekend affair with a woman from the Irish pub. Now, mind you, this is it's got to be 21 years ago. And she was an attorney, a city attorney with Minneapolis. And she ended up giving me, she had a rare blue, they were blue silver rats. And very rare, she said, or very expensive, one of the two. Maybe that's one and the same. And she ended up giving me this rat. And it was an offspring of her rat. And I said, ooh, rats from an attorney. And so I gave that rat to my kids. Smart animal, incredibly intelligent. But they'd put her in that little plastic ball, that was made for rats. So rats could walk around in the ball and it would roll around the house. And so here we are in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, and I hear that ball rolling down the hallway. So when you came in that front door, you'd turn and you'd be in my bedroom, but you turn right the other way and there was the long hallway, and it curved down at the end of the hallway, and the kids' bedrooms were down there, and the living room, the kitchen were all off to the side, and everything was old wood floors. And you heard this ball. I heard this ball. I thought, I hear it at first, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I hear that ball rolling. And the door to my bedroom is open, and I'm over in the corner in this small table, and I'm looking kind of sideways at the door, and in rolls the little ball into my bedroom, and it stops, and it's plastic, it's got momentum, so it just stops, and it kind of rolls a little bit and comes to a stop. There's no rat in it. I thought, that's peculiar. And I went and looked. Sure enough, the rat's sleeping in its cage. It's aquarium, big aquarium we had for it. And I thought, and my kids weren't there. They were at their mother's that week. And I thought, that's awfully peculiar. How did that rat ball end up down the hall, rolling down the hall in the middle of the night into my office, or my bedroom, which was technically my office back then? And the doctor is in. Let me fluff that pillow for you. So I always wonder about guys or people that you see them, they're doing podcast. I just saw a podcast with a guy, and he's actually laying on his bed doing his podcast, and he's trying to be a serious, paranormal type of a podcaster. People that you see pictures of people sometimes online, selfies are like, hey, selfie. But you look in the background, their computer is obviously in their bedroom. And so I never wanted my computer to be perceived as being in my bedroom or my office, for that matter. But there I was. And so the rat ball rolled into my bedroom about 2 a.m. What did that? Oh, well, science can explain that one away, or a skeptic could explain that for me. It was certainly nothing of a spiritual nature. Let's get that out of the way first, because we're skeptical, we're scientific, and we know what the fuck we're talking about. So, sorry about that. I just realized I let the Effenheimer slip there for anybody who's still got kids up at 10 o'clock at night listening to this show. And my apologies, parents. But of course, skeptics and scientists, they got it all figured out. Well, there's a natural reason for that. It's where the ball was sitting, and you obviously left it out. And, we get tremors in the earth all the time, even though there's no earthquakes up here. And something moved it, a breeze, a draft, and it rolled right into your bedroom. Oh, okay. Well, that makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. So, but I believe it was that same night that I believe it was the same moment. And this is what Roger Rabbit was referring to. So I'm sitting there. There was no raven knocking. There was no tapping or rapping. There was no nevermore. There was a rat ball. And as I'm contemplating the nevermore of the rat ball, I hear coming from outside my front door, down in the landing, my sensors indicate an intruder is present. My sensors indicate an intruder is present. My sensors indicate an intruder is present. Coming from my Lost in Space robot down on the landing outside my front door. So my sensors indicate an intruder is present. Hey, Johann, dancing gypsy. Good to see you. Haven't seen you forever. Can you speak Scottish? Not really. I can speak some Scots English. I knew a little bit of Scots Gaelic. I knew, the obvious one. Scots Gaelic is Jigwich, which is pretty much God be with you today, Jigwich. And that was Scots Gaelic. I know some Scots English, which is what do we have? Some of those. Oh, lad, you're say sleek it gabbit, ye are. It'd be talking about how soft-tongued, slick-tongued you are, what a fast speaker you are. Sleek it gabbit. But it was mixed in with English words as well, so Scots English. So it's interesting stuff. So I can't really speak Scottish. I can wear a kilt. And I can sometimes dance in a kilt. I can dance if I want to. And and I can sometimes do a mean Scottish brogue if I'm drinking enough. So I got that going for me. So let's see. Johann, bloody English. Yeah, the bloody English. So yeah, I learned my Scottish accents from watching the movies. From Mr. Scott, of course, and Star Trek when I was a kid. And then, of course, you watch things like Braveheart or Rob Roy was a fantastic movie. I think it got a little lost in 1995 because it was the same year Braveheart came out. Two big Scottish movies. And but Rob Roy was a fantastic film with Liam Neeson playing the lead role in that. And by the way, I once saw an old version of Rob Roy, a black and white version done by Disney. And it had that Disney feel, that 1950s, Disney feel of the movies and things. But it was really well done. It was pretty historically on the mark too. And I can't remember the guy who played Rob Roy, but I looked the part, and with the Johnny coat and and the kilt and the great kilt, your fill a bag and your fill a more, and you're, swinging your clay from side to side. And so, yeah, that's when I was younger. So you learn to do that stuff. And of course, we were at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, and we did all the Scottish reenacting with the Highland Regiment and all the different fantasy types of things that we did. Historical, nonetheless, but you could call it historical cosplay with our British redcoats and all that. But yeah, that's where we learned to do our accents. Was the movies. So tartan is awesome. Can't tartan is awesome. Love it, Scotty, says Amanda. So I dinna can. I canna know. I can either know. And so can you come out and play? I can either know. Or is it the new? I can either new. So I can't right now. So, yeah, some of those things come up. What the hell? My phone has a mind of its own, says Amanda. Have no clue what my higher self is saying. Hey, Amanda, join the club. I don't know if my higher self has even clicked in tonight, let alone knowing what it's saying. So anyway, Roger Rabbit, that was the story that had to do with the robot going off on the landing outside the door. Ratball rolls into my room. Nobody was there in the house. And the robot starts telling me his sensors indicated an intruder was present. So I thought that was all. You get a little chuckle out of that. But then again, you're also home alone at 2 a.m. And you're like, okay, don't know who's here, but stay away from my bed. I used to tell the ghosts that I would encounter in my home, I used to tell them, you're welcome here. Love to talk to you sometime, but don't hover over my bed at night because I am for sure will pee my sheets. So you don't have to wake me up in the middle of the night and go, boo, I'm here. You want to talk? Don't do that. Catch me in the light, the daylight. It'll work much better, I guarantee you. I think I could talk to a ghost a lot better, communicate if it didn't scare the shit out of me first. Don't make me pee my sheets. That's just one rule of thumb I have with spirits in my house. So do that's what Shannon Kling has to say. Amanda says, I tell them jokes. The cat's in present gets an earful. Yeah, why not? If you see a ghost, why not tell him a joke? Instead of going, why not go, hey, did you hear the one about the guy with the, wow, you scared me. I turned as white as a ghost. Get it? You and me, we're on the same page. Oh, I don't know. I think we get so terrified of the unknown that we don't realize that they probably have senses of humor as well. And you all remember, because this is more recently, I know I've talked about this, but when Rocky and Rainey and we went down to the local barber shop here in my little town in New Richmond, Wisconsin. The town is quite old, and there was a big tornado that went through here, though, like 110 years ago, something like that. And it took out most of the downtown, but there's still a lot of the old buildings are here from which would have been pre-Civil War, some of the buildings. This barber shop here was 1859, that my local barber has this shop. And I like to go to my local, but don't tell anyone. There's probably people who cut hair better than him. And I've gone to them and I felt like I'm cheating on my barber. But he's little old local barber. He's been doing this since 1976. He's had his shop in that little storefront here in downtown New Richmond, which is about 3 blocks long. Downtown New Richmond. And it's all those old, pre-Civil War and post-Civil War buildings. There's some pictures of this town. You've seen the pictures of this from almost every other little town that can be out there. the old mud dirt road. Somebody was up on top of a building and took a picture down the old mud dirt road with all these Model A's and Model T's and horse and buggy wagons and all along the mud street, and all the little old buildings. And some of the, I like to stare at those old pictures and go, that's the bank now. Things like that. Oh, there's Carl's barbershop. But he had us come in because he thought there were ghosts in the basement of his place. And we took a few pieces of equipment and we went in, and he said he hadn't been in his own basement of his shop there but one time in like 10, 15 years, something like that. And he actually had, it was a doorway in the floor that opened up. And he had a dresser and a water cooler or whatever and all kinds of stuff on top of it. He just never went in there, and a rug pulled over it. So we went down in there and we got a couple of things down there. It's a little tiny dirt basement and a crawl space and stuff like that, and dirt floors in one part of it, and stone walls. I don't know if you can hear that. There's children screaming. It's the little queen of the universe is screaming at her mom. I don't know why she's still up at 10:15 at night. But so we went in there, and this is by the way, this is all coming off of talking about maybe telling a joke to a ghost. And this is where I don't know if you remember me telling this before, but when we got back into the upstairs, he's an old barber chair there that's probably about 75 years old. And so we set up a little spirit box in there, and we're talking away. And Rainey's asking questions. And there were Carl, the old barber, had given us names of some people that used to own the place, and in years gone by. And Rainey said, "Is there anybody named so and so here?" And she didn't remember his name. And the spirit box says to her, he says, "How you doing?" And Rocky and I started laughing. We said, "You have good taste, Mr. Spirit Box Ghost, sir. We don't know who you really are, but nice. How you doing?" he says to my wife. And so we thought that was kind of funny. And Rocky and I started laughing, and we started trying to joke around with the ghost a little bit. And we got a couple of other blips of things and stuff like that. So I hear my wife, my lovely wife, Rainey, is yelling at everybody right now. All those kids are obviously not doing what they're supposed to because it's 10:15 on a school night, and she still has to be yelling at them because they're not doing what they're supposed to. How about that? Go figure that. Rainey? I don't know if she's down here or not. If she is, I should have her come in here. Hey, Rainey! I'm hearing noise, but I don't hear her. So if she's down here, maybe she'll come in. So you may have to shut down your DT. Ruh-roh. You got a storm coming in, says Twisted. And I tell no lies, so chop chop start imagination, says Amanda. I'm sure there's been a hell of a lot of great stuff you guys been talking about tonight. And I haven't been looking over much at the chat room, so I probably missed a lot of stuff. What? Girls, if you think about someone you can actually get their bed and mess with their heads. How you doing, Amanda? Had to be said. The open door was there. So if I interpreted that correctly, let's see. If you haven't watched it, says Audrey, highly recommend the episode of The Situation Room where Rocky asked Scotty if he would have sex with a ghost. That's a ways back, too, now. That's several months back. Audrey, your higher self kicks in when you do those card readings, you know. Yeah, it does, Teresa. Thanks. Not just guesswork. Let's see what else we got going. New Rob Roy is hot. Leave a kid's ball out. Scotty, do it, says Amanda. I wasn't alone. See, I got to go back. I go back and read some of these comments, and I don't know the context of what I happen to be saying at the time. Hey, Rainey. She was right outside the door. Now she's not. How's that? Yell for somebody else while you're sitting on the radio. Well, it's not really radio. It's live stream. I can do whatever the hell I want because I'm not governed by anything at the moment. So the ghost was pitching a tent in his bed sheet for sure. Omar was present. And so, yeah. Roger, talking to you. So Morgan Snow says, need some good vibes here. Sick husband and a dog that didn't want to go up the stairs to the porch. Oh, nice. What is that telling you, Morgan? The dog doesn't want to go up the stairs? Don't know what's going on, she says. Yeah, there you are. So send out good vibes for your husband. And to you. Let's see. Oh, I thought somebody else said something and I misread it. Twisted says, I saw that one, Scotty. All right. So, Mike Yehudi. I like your name. It's just, you can yell Yehudi. It's a great name. Is that your actual name? Is that got some Semitic roots to it? And it sounds like it. Yehudi. So, it's got that Netanyahu type of feel to it. So, Mike Yehudi, what's up? And spooks. I do believe in spooks. I do believe in spooks. I do believe in spooks. You all know what that's from. So tell us how you did answer that question about having sex with a ghost. Shannon, I never had sex with a ghost that I know of. Although there were a few witches in the mix. No, that was... we were just talking away one day about something rather semi-serious on Rocky's show, The Situation Room, and Rocky asked me, he goes, yo, Roberts, cannoli. He says, so have you ever had, like sex with a ghost? And that's where that came from. And I'm like, what? And not as offended as I feigned to be offended for the show, but it was just a weird question. He did not spring that on me until, he just sprung it on me. And we got to talking about, incubus, succubus, things like that. And that's right, Audrey. It's the Cowardly Lion, Bert Lahr. So we got into a long conversation, Shannon, about, and whoever else was Nam de Plume. Good to know, Mike. I wondered. It's a great name. That's all. I like it. It's easy to say, Yehudi. So, what did Shannon just say? Oh, damn sex is always good, right? Twisted. I think I can interpret that. Hold on, folks. I can interpret that. Incubus is a good band. Audrey says, Rocky, start of a question. Hey, Cannoli, got a question for you. You know it's going to be a doozy. Oh, yeah. Whenever you hear Rocky say, so, Cannoli, I got a question for you. Every time I like dread that moment. It's like, oh, God, here we go. All right, what now? And I could refuse to answer him, but I never do. So, yeah. So, yeah, sex with a ghost. It was a hypothetical. And it was, if you woke up and found yourself having sex with a ghost or a ghost attempting to have sex with you, what would you do? And I'm like, well, could I see it? Would it be hideous, cranky, old, evil thing with rotting flesh on it? Or would it have taken the form like the jinn, would take the form of a beautiful woman? Or even the jinn that were beautiful women in form? Would I object to that? And of course, my question, I had to bring up the moral question. I'd say, well, let me ask. Would that be considered adultery? Would that be considered? And we got into that aspect of that conversation. Rocky and I did. And so, yeah, there are questions that could be asked regarding that kind of thing. So, dream sex, says Shannon Kling. Yeah, well, everybody's had dream sex. I mean, hey, we're human. It's what's on our minds. Like it's a bad thing, you know. Excuse me. So, yeah, that was the question that Rocky had posed me, and no, I've never had sex with a ghost that I know of. So, lots of other cryptids, but not a ghost, and at least not that I knew of. But that whole jinn thing is very interesting as well. According to the mythology, as we talked about all last week, they're immortal yet mortal. They're spirit but not. They can be killed. They can die. They can have offspring. They can reproduce. The jinn, and so there were jinn that were known to have threatened men, have sex with me or I'll eat you alive, or I'll have you killed and torn to shreds. And what's a guy to do? So there are things like that. Worse things have happened, I guess. So got an advertisement for your neighbor that died 2 years ago. You got an advertisement for your neighbor who died 2 years ago? What were they advertising? That's interesting. So with the kids around, I bet the dream stuff happens often. Not really. With the kids around, though, it makes the non-dream stuff much more rare. Let's see, sex or death? Yeah. There's a. Let me think about that. Okay, I think I got my answer for you. Do I think spirits? Do I think spirits could have sex? Yeah, I think there's at least been a lot of stories about it. A lot of accounts of spirits having sex with people. I think that sometimes you can look at that rather in a romantic, and I don't mean relationship romantic, but I mean a romanticized version of the story. And you think, wow, it'd be kind of cool. It's like a freebie, right? Yet you hear stories of people who have had these encounters with incubus and succubus, and it's terrifying. If you watch last week's episode of Ghost Adventures, it's the one that would still be up if you look at it online. They're dealing with a guy who they thought had a succubus, and kind of a terrifying episode. My kids like to watch the ghost hunting show with me. I wasn't comfortable with them looking at that one after I had seen it first. And there was supposedly a next door neighbor of his who had been killed by a demon that was having sex with her. And so they go into this stuff. It's one of those episodes of theirs. It's pretty taut. It's not a fun episode at all. It's not entertaining in the way that their shows can be about ghost hunting. It was kind of I'm looking for the word for it. It was a little I don't even know what to call it. Okay. It wasn't a happy episode. It wasn't an interesting ghost hunting episode. It was a little frightful when you think about it. So yeah, it's a Hollywood crap. Yep. So I don't know. I don't know if a jinn met you in the way and demanded sex with you, or they'd kill you. Would that sex be like cool, like a porn movie, or would that sex be like the worst thing that ever happened to you? You'd have PTSD the rest of your life. I don't know. I don't know of anybody who's really gone through that. Although we do have like this. What was his name? Williamson, not Williamson. Wellison, no, I can't remember his name. The guy whose accounts we read of the jinn last week. He's had conversations with them. So Barbara says your ex had an incubus spirit. Now that's interesting, Barbara. How did you guys figure that out? Was it a terrifying experience? Was it a really bad? Was it like an evil thing, like a possession? Was it a pleasurable thing? And you don't have to answer any of these questions if you don't want to. But was it something that needed exorcising? Was it something that for your husband was a thing that was pleasurable at the time, or was it evil at the time? What was it? How did that all play out? I'd be very interested to know some of that. So Johan says it took you 3 tries. I didn't see what you're referring back to there, but Derry. I'm just looking back a little bit. Oh, there's the clip from the show Audrey has up. That's funny that you'd have that there. So Roger says, did anyone else watch the Hellier series? We talked about a couple of months back. Yeah, that was a good series, guys. I think they're going to do another season of that. I don't know where they're going to take it, but I do think that they're going to do something with that. So that Hellier, I, of course, saw it. I thought it was very good. Very well done. So Teresa says, these things are manifested by our thoughts. Attacks are self-imposed. You're thinking it will happen. You know, I wonder about that, Teresa. Are they self-imposed? I think they can be. I think there are tulpa-like things that we can create out of our minds, but it's by intensely thinking about it, almost group think about something. But if we chalk all those experiences up to just things that we think about, and so we create and manifest those things, is that what it is? Or are there actual beings? Are there actual demonic forces or jinn that exist? Things like that can happen. There's the big question. So group thought, we create these things. It would be like if I went to Africa and I thought enough about an elephant, would I have an elephant stampede through my wicker house? And I'm being flippant on purpose to illustrate the point, is that do these things exist? Are they as real as an elephant, as real as the animal kingdom, only in the spirit realm? Or are they all, none of them exist until we create them? That's what I have a little personal problem with, that particular take on it, because I think these things exist whether we want to think about them or not. I don't know. What do you think of that? So you need intent. Yeah, I believe that, Morgan. But what if you have no intent? What if you're the innocent passerby and an incubus or a succubus or a jinn or a whatever it might be decides to confront you? Will that happen to you if you have no intent? Could it? Yeah. If I have no intent in getting hit by a bus and I get hit by a bus, does that mean it's not real? There's the kind of line of thinking I've got for this. So Twisted says, maybe the only thing we can't do as spirits or souls is make babies. Maybe so. Reproduce spirit. I think you have to be physical realm to do that, I would think. So, but then again, like the jinn, they say that they can reproduce. See, I had a hard time getting into the Hellier series, but once I was intrigued, I found it interesting. Some of what I watched. Felt it was hokey, but what do I know? I believe in aliens and Bigfoot, so LOL, says Audrey. I didn't think it was too hokey, but I thought it was... I found it interesting. It was more personal. It was smaller. It was what these guys experienced. So anyway, Shannon says, yes, I believe we manifest it. So there's a question I have for you all. Hence, we create the reality they need to get in. So so we manifest something. So you're saying that thing has no existence on its own? It doesn't exist out there in spirit form. There is no spirit realm other than what power we give it by our imaginations. There are no ghosts, there are no spirits, there are no jinn, there are no demons, there is no angels. We manifest those, is what you're saying. That's what I don't know if I buy. I don't think we create them out of nothing. I think we can. We have the ability to create thought forms, tulpas, but are all spirits tulpas? Maybe all tulpas are spirits, but not all spirits are tulpas. So, Teresa says, in the lower realms. Okay. Trying to understand that one. They exist in the lower realm, but are called out by us. Yeah, sure. Oh, I see what you mean by manifesting. Yeah, I think so. I think you can call something up. If you're intent on doing that, you can call something up. And but why the lower realms? Why isn't it the higher realms? You know, we attribute all that stuff to the lower and the dark and the evil. Is it all low, dark, and evil, or is that what we place on it when we either create it or manifest it? Well, it must be evil. What if it isn't evil? There's a question. I'm not asking because, I'm messing around with anything. I'm asking because I have genuine questions about that stuff. And Delaney doesn't manifest the things she encounters. So I don't think I do either with the things I encounter. Tulpa is not a spirit. No, it's a thought form. What happens to a tulpa after we die? I don't know. I think you have to continue to give it life or it's gone. Well, you give it life to such a point that it manifests. Well, then it's here. Then what happens to it? And I've always wondered how just my thinking about something can give it life. I understand that's kind of the Egyptian concept with the eternal life issue was the more you dwelt on the name, you dwelt that you remembered. That's why they had the afterlife structured the way they did. And you think on it, and that remembrance brings the life. I get that. How does my brain create an independent being? Or does it? So those are good questions. I think I might look into that for some shows this week. So, Jeannie, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm just getting ready to cut it off here now. We've been going for almost an hour and a half. And I'm about ready to be done. I was ready to be done when I started. Then I warmed up, and now I'm ready to be done again. Tulpas can grow into spirits depending on how much your thoughts feed it. Yeah, I get that. That means we are highly creative beings. We're very powerful beings if we can create life forms out of our thoughts. Something to look into some more. I believe the goal or the endeavor is to transcend past lower fourth dimension, astral plane, onto the higher level worth density frequency. We don't want to get sucked in the astral plane. And see, Barbara, I hear a lot of stuff like that over my lifetime, and I don't know how much of that I want to buy yet. Not you, not what you're saying. Nothing, no personal offense to you. But I hear that kind of talk about this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because I don't know how to define the fourth dimension and transcended planes and, the third dimensions and the things that we do. And it all becomes jumble for me. It's like there's almost a language of New Age that makes me cringe a little bit. Just like there's sometimes language of Christianity that makes me cringe a little bit. And some of that is probably based on the fact that I don't know everything. That's for certain. So interesting thoughts. I'd like to look into some of that. And anyway, there we go. No offense meant with any of that, Barbara. I'm just working through some of these comments as I see them. So what is a poltergeist? It's something that moves things. It's a spirit that moves things. I don't know why it's different than any other spirit. So Shannon says, epic show. Thank you so much, Scotty. Oh, I have to go now? Okay. Well, good night. I guess I did say in there that I was going to take off here pretty quick. So you're watching Scotty and JV. Let's get you all over to JV. Go watch JV's show. And I'm going to take off because it's been long enough for not really having a show. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. I will see you tomorrow night with a real show. And it just won't be live with you here in the chat room. I want to thank you all for being here. I think I got a chance to say hi to everybody, and it's good to see you. If you need a tarot reading, you know where to come. You can come over to me, and I'll do one for you. Go to my website, scottallenroberts.com, and click on the tarot link. You'll find the links there. Let's see, what else do I have? I have art. I'm an illustrator, designer, book cover designer, all this kind of design, everything. If you need anything, go over to my website and take a look at what I do. And that's enough for my ads for tonight. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for caring about me, coming in, even when it's not a real show. You guys have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.